Good evening, Joe.
Good evening, Charles.
How are you? It's been an eventful week. How are you?
Me, I'm good. I had a big deadline today. This week I have to hand in my to my publisher Natasha all the info for my spiritual diary next week. For next year, I
Are
mean. Sorry, next year.
you? It's all happening, Joe. This is great. This is
Yes.
great. So this is the journal.
So this is a spiritual journal that they could use as an everyday journal, but also every month it's got like the base chakra and all the chakra systems, and then how to purge relationships and all that stuff. That's got four meditations every month, and then yes, so it's very exciting.
Yeah,
I've wanted
you.
to have a spiritual diary, I reckon, for 10 years, and now I'm going to make it happen.
See, when the time's right, the universe says, let's go. That's the little push that we all need, and it's about let's go. So
Yes.
it's all happening. Who would have thought, Joe, we're up to episode 8 already?
I know it's been scooting along. I love today these days because it's like when I wake up in the morning, I go, oh, I get to talk to Charles, and we're going to do a little
Yes.
podcast. And so yes,
Yes. And it's us, it's having a lot of fun. So today's topic is a really interesting topic.
yeah,
You thought of this one, Joe. So we're going to talk about family dynamics.
yes.
What was the inspiration, Joe, behind this topic? Because this is big.
Well, for me, I have had a lot of clients in the last week or two where it feels like, well, some of them, it felt like their family is really crushing their spirit, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And then, I got a twin who um, the energy needed to be balanced because it felt like the other twin was taking everything.
Yes.
Um, so, yeah, so that's interesting. And even since she had that healing, she texted me and she said, oh my gosh, it's like before it was like a seesaw. So it was like that. And she was this twin, where now she said it just feels more even. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
More balanced.
balanced. Yeah. So, yeah. And then it's also about, if you're stepping into your spiritual awakening, how
Mhm.
sometimes your family won't like you to change. So, I
Yeah.
get that with my students a lot.
It's
What are you
very
doing that
interesting. That
for?
that
Yeah.
dynamic is really interesting because you're at a level and the family sometimes doesn't understand the level that you're at, and they're
Mm.
struggling with it. You're ready to go on your journey and they're struggling with it. And they do it from a place, I think, of love, but it's fear-based. So it says because they don't understand where you're going and what you're doing, that's like you're not going to be able to do that and sustain yourself and do stuff like that. So it's a very interesting um time for the family as to, you're awakening, you got to go with it. You got to do it. You can't hold it back. But the family either comes along on the journey with you or sometimes it fragments.
Yes, very much so. And I think it's all about, the common thing about when someone does something new, it's more along the lines of the family doesn't want the person to change, really.
Correct.
So, you know, and it's the
Yeah.
fear of the unknown for what does that mean? So
And that's the thing. And a lot of people have that fear as well inside themselves because if they're on a spiritual pathway, it's like, wow, this has cost me life in other lifetimes. Does that make sense? So
yeah,
how does it so sometimes when you're starting, there's this uncertainty that should I be following this path? Because in other times it's, hasn't been the best pathways, but this is a different time. We're in the 21st century. We can do these things and not, suffer for it. So it's
yeah.
really interesting that was my experience, Joe, that my family I've always had a very supportive family and they love me dearly and I love them dearly. But sometimes it's like they don't understand the pathways and they
Mm.
don't understand where my journey needs to go so that I can flourish. And I would still think today that some of them possibly don't understand what it is that I do, yet they
Because
know it
you,
helps people.
yeah, because you're coming from a family of 11, don't you?
Yeah, I've got there's 11 of us all together and it's a blended family. So, I've got we don't call each other half brothers or sisters or anything like that. We're just brothers and sisters. That's how close we all are. And I've got such a beautiful family. And the dynamic is very different because I'm the lucky last one. I'm number 11 of 11. So I'm the youngest. And everybody's having a different experience. And it's so amazing for me to be able to be a part of that and watch that and see that the experiences are very different. So in my family, when I sort of said to them, I'm going to, this was over 10 years ago, I'm going to follow a spiritual path. It's like, hold on a minute. Nobody's done that. What are you doing? What do you mean? You might not be able to sustain yourself by doing that type of work or having that type of living. And it was a very interesting experience because I had to sit within myself. Is this really what I want to do? Because I was getting resistance outside of me, but it was just their way of showing me, are you ready? Because this is going to be a journey that once you start, you can't stop and you won't be able to go back. So I matched their resistance with, no, this is good. This is where I need to be. So this is what I'm going to do. And that's what I eventually did. And 10 years later, I'm still making a go of it. It's going to be a lifelong passion and a lifelong journey, not a journey that I will stop. I might take a break every now and then because it can get very overwhelming or it can become very, demanding. So I've got to fill my cup as well. So that's what that is. Sometimes I'll take a break, but everybody's on a different journey. People won't understand you. But what really happened in my family dynamic was some people, as I developed and I was reading different things and doing different things, they'd come up and ask me questions. How does this work? How does this? Or can you practice that on me? Or I'm interested in this. How does that actually work? Or something might be happening in life, grief, for example, if a family member passed away. They've got a perception now that it's not the end of the world. It's not the end. This is just that person being able to go back to home, wherever home is, and seeing it from a different level. So yeah, family dynamics are really, really interesting. And from a big family perspective, it's been very surprising, very surprising.
Yeah, my mum and brothers were they weren't not supportive. They were supportive enough, like if that makes sense. I think my mum was really overwhelmed when we bought Alchemy because it was a lot of money we had to mortgage. And she was like, but I didn't get too upset about her reaction because mum and dad came from the era where you save up all your money and buy it. Does that, where I remember once she asked how much I was mortgaged for. And I think she didn't sleep very much for that week. So
but the thing is, inside yourself, Joe, you knew that this was manageable for me. I see the potential. I see what was coming and I can do it.
Yeah, I always have that. I'm a bit of a risk taker. So I kind of go, I'll just sell it, or I never, if my gut instinct is, yes, it's a go, well, then I will, I'll back myself from then on. I won't ever go back and look or doubt myself, if that makes sense. So
of course, I get that a lot, Joe. And I say to people when they're making decisions like this, I'll always say to them, play a game with yourself. And the game is this. You ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? And as you just said, what's the worst that can happen? I'll sell it. I'll move it along. So then I'll recoup my money and I'll start again somewhere else or I'll do something different. So go you. I'm a Taurus. We like security. So we're a bit slow and steady like a turtle to make things happen. But when the time's right, it happens. So that's how I roll it. It's a very different world.
Yeah, see, I'm a impulse shopper.
Love it. Love it.
I have a race. If I've got to get a dress or something, I'll time myself and go, wonder how quickly I can do it. So
wow. I love that. I love that. Here I am, procrastinator. I'm the procrastinator. I could buy it there or I could buy it somewhere else and get it $20 off if I wait a week because I don't have it in here. That's how I roll. It's just like, am I getting the best deals here and here and here? It's very different. Very different.
Yeah. Yeah, see, you'd be running. I'd be like, creep up, come on, we gotta go. Let's get in and out.
I love it. I love it.
And then
I love it.
I've got these new chairs in that are off Buy Swap Sell. And I said to Elliot the other day, would you like to come on an adventure with me? And Elliot goes, you bought something off Buy Swap Sell, didn't you? I went, I did. and now I might need you to
Yes.
help me pop them in the car. So
Yes. So he had no choice in the adventure but to partake. I love that.
that's
No,
right.
but you're so right, Joe, in what you said, because your family and your parents particularly grew up in a time where they saved, and they saved and they did what they had to do. My father really surprised me because he was born in 1927 in England, and
Yeah.
I didn't really expect him to be spiritually aware. So when I started to do all of this stuff, I remember before he passed away, we went out for lunch once, mum, dad, and I, and he said to me, your auntie's got the gift, don't you? I said, no. And the funniest thing was my father really didn't speak about his family in England very much at all. So he goes, your auntie's got the gift. And it's like, and I've seen her, using it. And he goes, I'm very proud of you. Just keep going. It's like, oh, okay, that's really, and that was, I think dad was in his, late 70s when he was telling me this sort of stuff. And it's like, well, okay, well, it's like I've got the family blessing. And it's like there's something in the heritage that allows that to happen. So it's just like, wow, okay. Not that I needed his approval to do anything, but it was really rewarding. And I felt really proud that he says, go with it, see what comes, and just go and explore it, just go and do something different. He understood the passion. And I think he could see the passion that was going to ignite in me when he sort of said, just go and follow it, like your auntie did. It's like, oh, okay.
Mm,
His auntie, sorry.
so good. Yeah. I think my dad's side of the family was quite intuitive. My auntie was a nun, so
Wow.
she was, she dedicated her whole life to being of service to God.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and the other auntie, my other dad's sister, she was really flamboyant but a real people's person. So she was one of my favorites. Oh, they both were my favorites. But so and then my dad was very intuitive with animals, as my brother
Okay.
is. So I
Yeah.
think it's been in my family, but they just, and when dad would be a really good reader of people's, like if they're good or bad, So
Yeah, he could read their energy and understand this person I can trust, and this
yeah.
person I really have to hold at arm's length because they might not be the most trustworthy.
Mm. So yeah, so
Right.
I think but in the essence of that also, I truly believe that if someone works on themselves a lot and meditates, that they can become quite intuitive with
Mhm.
peeling off the layers that they've created so far, along their journey.
Yeah, they're
You
just
know,
reawakening that ancient wisdom that sits inside us all, and they're bringing that wisdom back to the surface as like, I need to activate or reactivate my
yes.
intuitive abilities so that I can see what's actually happening in the bigger picture of the world.
Yeah, because I think that most people have had 100 to 200 lives already in their past
Mhm.
lives. So I think that out of all some of those lives, you would have had to be surely you would have been intuitive or
Oh, definitely, definitely. And I think it's just over time that we've lost that ability. We've
yeah,
been controlled in a way, and we've been shut down in a way that people are less likely to trust what their intuition's telling them. They don't understand it, and they don't know how to
yes,
connect properly to it. Even though you hear about women's intuition, or I've got this gut feeling, which is your gut is your second brain. People are not trusting it all the time. It's one of the questions I ask my clients all the time. Do you trust your intuition? And they'll go, not really. And I'll just give them a little psh, 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 stop that. It's trying to guide you and do something with you to lead you on the path of least resistance in your life and get you the quickest way from points A to B. So
yes.
please trust it. So yeah, it's very interesting, Joe. It's very
Oh,
interesting.
very,
Now, so family dynamics, right? Let's talk about this. So this could go right back to why we might have chosen our particular family to have experiences in this lifetime. Is that what we're sort of referencing here as well, Joe?
yeah, absolutely. Because we do choose our family and our mum and dad for the
Hmm.
experiences. And now, if you got real crap ones, well, then that's unfortunate. But you did choose them for a lesson of some sort, whether it's to
Oh,
strengthen you or
yes. What did you need to learn? And
yeah,
that's the aspect that I really like about this family dynamic stuff is when I do some healings on people and I'm looking at the family circle, one of the
Yeah.
things that I've read with Dr. Michael Newton was whether they're in the same soul circle as you, if that makes
Mm.
sense. So viewers, if you've got a family member in your family that you stick to like glue and you get them, they get you, and it's just like, this is so easy, they're going to be in your same soul circle. If you find you've got family members that might be like the black sheep of the family, they might be coming from a different soul circle. And they
Mm.
might have come into your family dynamic so that you can help them develop. You can help them open up to their intuitive abilities. You can help them develop their soul to a higher level so that they can ascend to whatever they need to ascend to. And this is where it gets really, really interesting when you do healing in family spaces, that where the customers that I might be seeing are struggling with particular family members, could even be the parents. And then I'll look at the family dynamics like, aha, they're in a different soul circle to you. You've come into this to help do it with the aid of possibly your parent, your sibling, or even your child, to help lift up your family's wisdom. So it's really interesting when you look at it from that perspective and where it all fits in the soul dynamic.
Yeah, very much so. And I think not all the time, but I think you generally come from one side of the family, like whether it's your dad's or your mum's.
Yeah.
And I think the one that you're not connected to a lot can be a struggle, to get that connection. But, sometimes my mum and I struggled, but when I look at the big picture, I think I like who I am now. So therefore I'm glad that I had her to help me learn those lessons or that dynamic, because, maybe if I had a different mum, I might have not become strong and self-sufficient and my intuition activated as much. So, and at the same time, there's no ill feelings. That she did the best she could. But it was just, we didn't always see eye to eye, if that makes sense. But
that, of course, makes complete sense, Jen. That's why I say to my customers when they say, I hate this family member, my first question is, why did you choose them? And that stops them right in their tracks. It's like, oh. And I'll say, well, what are they teaching you about yourself? What is it that they're showing you so that you can have a particular type of experience in this lifetime? Are you having that experience? Are you growing from that experience? Are they triggering you? Are they pushing you to be better in yourself? So, and as you just said, your mum tried as hard as she could, but she got you to a certain point that you had to do it yourself. And that's what I say to people. So sometimes if you're feeling like neglected, your parents might be teaching you, you got to stand on your own 2 feet at a very young age. Let's go. I'm going to give you that strength and that intestinal fortitude so that you can look after yourself, so that when you're, your 30s, your 40s, you're strong, you're driven, you're motivated, because you had to do it from a young age. Other people might have had the most nurturing and beautiful childhood and upbringing, so that when they're ready to become parents and, have their own families, they've got that amazing ability to nurture and love and give love. So there's a purpose and a reason behind our beautiful family dynamics. And this is what I say to people: take a step back, look at your family dynamic. And for me, it's like, wow, how do I interact with being one of 11? Sometimes when we were having dinner at the table, Joe, it was who could talk the loudest just to be heard, because sometimes you wouldn't be heard. Do you know what I mean? And it was about, how do I get the attention? How do I, warrant that? How do I gather that? And could it just be, do I just step up and do the dishes, or do I just be the best in my, or do I be the worst and, behave badly and get the attention that way? So the dynamics are really, really interesting when you sort of start to pull it apart, pull back the layers.
Yeah. God, it would have been I'm sure there was lots of food, but holy moly, trying to get 11 things cooked all at once. Like, you had steak, holy moly.
My parents did a great job. My grandparents did a great job. I mean, by the time I was born, I think ultimately by the time I came onto the scene in my family, I think 3 of my eldest brothers and sisters had already moved out.
Oh, okay.
That's the age difference, if that makes sense. So They were already adults and they were starting on their own adventures of life. So it wasn't a case of, all of us plus the parents. And I think when I was in my mum's stomach with my twin brother, because I've got a twin, my grandparents decided, well, this is a lot that's going on in this family. We're going to build an extension onto the family home and help my mother and father raise us. So it wasn't just a case of having my parents. We had our grandparents live with us as well. That also helped, with the laundry and the cooking and the raising and all of that sort of stuff. So experiences in life in a family dynamic are really, really interesting at a young age, and people see it. You can live in the same family, have the same experiences, but people see them very differently. Very differently.
Sometimes when one of my brothers is telling a story, I will be like, I mustn't have been there because I can't recall that story. And then my other brother will say something about the story, and then I'll be like, I was there. And I don't want to react to my other brother, but I'll be like, wow, our perceptions of what really went on there is so different because I don't even know what story he's saying. So
and that's the thing, because we're at sorry, Joe, because we're at different ages, we're seeing it with different sets of eyes. Does that make sense? And a more older person will see it through one set. A younger person says, well, that was a lot of fun. Where the other one's going, no, it wasn't. It wasn't a fun experience at all. So it's interesting.
Yeah. And the other thing that I find really fascinating is that you're a twin and then your husband Sean's a twin. So I just think, what's that about? That makes me.
And we're both the second of the two twins. So we're both the second of the two twins. So it's weird in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way.
So in a good way. It's weird. And we both feel, well, if I'm looking at both of us and where our twin brothers are, because we've both got twin brothers, and I'm a fraternal twin, so there were two eggs, and Sean and his brother are, I don't know, identical twins. That's what I'm trying to say. They were one egg that split.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting just to see how different the dynamic is between fraternal and identical. They're much closer. Not saying my brother and I are not close, but they will call every day, whereas my brother and I might call once a week. And it's just a very different dynamic. And again, in the family space, it's like, okay, so for my brother and I, two separate eggs coming together, was it a case of one of us has come to assist the other in this lifetime? Because there might be some struggles in that lifetime. Who's here to help who? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, I love it. I know you can kind of sit there and ponder that for quite some time about, like what does that mean? So
correct. And the interesting fact is we're the same ages, my twin brother and I, and Sean's twin brother and himself, but we're all having very different life experiences. We're all having very different life experiences. And from when my twin brother was born to when I was born, there's an hour and a half difference. So that's huge in twins. Yeah, I wasn't ready to come out, girls. It's the first time my brother's been early for anything. 4 weeks early, he decided, let's go. And it's the middle of winter, and Charles is going, oh, no, it's too cold. This is Melbourne town, too cold. I'm not coming out. So anyway, that was that. But Sean and his brother are like a minute, 2 minutes. They were very quick, very close. Let's go. Let's do this. We're ready. But I wasn't ready to come. It's like, maybe I want to change my mind. Maybe I'm not up for this stuff, So it's in that hour and a half makes us on a astrological scale very different people. Very different dynamics. So it's really interesting concepts. The dynamics of that are different.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, I've never heard that it's taken an hour and a half for another twin to come out.
I was breech. My hand came out first.
Your hands?
My hand. Hello, world. I was waving like Dame Edna. Hello, world. Here I am. And the funniest thing was we were being born in a Catholic hospital. And I think the surgeons and stuff must have been so stressed. They got the priest and they said to my mother, we're going to have to baptize him because we don't know if he's going to make it. So the hand got baptized. It's like, yes, okay, let's go. I'm good. I'm good in the eyes of the Lord. And lo and behold, 9:36 p.m. out I pop. Let's go. And we were premature. So we were 4 weeks early and we were in humidity cribs for another 4 weeks in the hospital. So yeah, interesting.
Wow. Yeah. That's
Different.
do you know the funny thing about my birth? This is really funny. So off track. But anyway, I was the third and I was a surprise. So there's 7 and 9 years gap between myself and my brothers. And
Yep.
so one of my brothers, and we grew up on a farm and it was a bit of a hippie kind of setup in a good way. But one of my brothers has gone down to my dad, ran down to dad and said, Mum needs to go to the hospital. She's in labor. And dad's told one of the brothers, tell your mother just to wait a minute. I have to finish the cow crush. And then I'll bring her to take her to hospital. So it's
Oops, yep, she can't wait. She's got to go
yeah.
now.
Anyway, so
It's
yeah,
a different world.
very, very different. I don't even think my mum knew she was pregnant with me for a while because she was at that age where she could have been going through menopause, but
Yes.
it wasn't. It was me. So
Yeah.
yeah, God
And
bless
that's
her.
the other aspect. That's the other aspect, Joe. So in your eyes too, if you were the only daughter in the family,
Mm.
how much pressure did that put on you? Like were the boys thinking, okay, I don't know how to get along with her because she's like a girl and she's female, and how, did that have any that dynamic between you and your brothers? How did that play out? Or were you just, yeah, let's go, boys, let's play?
Yeah, I don't think it played any difference really.
Okay.
Probably the age gap was more because, like, when I was 7, my brother Anthony was 14 and my other brother was 16. So
16.
that would have played out a bit, there was just a bit of an age gap. But probably by the time I was 25, 26, we were all just adults, So so I don't really think about being a girl made a difference. It was a bit tricky when I, got my first boyfriend because it felt like I had 3 dads, not one. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah. So that's probably the only difference in terms of, they were a bit protective. But now, like, we're good mates. I'd talk to one brother I probably talk to every couple of days and the other brother I talk to once a week. So but if anything was wrong with each other, we would be there straight away,
Yeah.
So
Same.
yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
nice that you're all that close. It's nice that you have that closeness,
Yeah.
that there's that reliance. If something was to happen, yeah, we're there straight away. We're there without even thinking. I can call
Yeah.
you. What do you need? Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. And have you noticed sometimes with twins how sometimes one of the twins can be really affluent and everything fall into place, and the other twin sometimes can be like dilapidated and nothing seems to go well for them? Have you seen that?
Yeah.
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 Mm.
Yeah. And I actually had that. I had a lady say that to me because I had an astrological chart done. Have you ever had an astrological chart done, Joe?
Yes. Love it.
I'm not, okay. Well, I didn't understand a word she was saying. She could have been speaking to me in Japanese,
Yeah, like
and
the
I probably would
10,000.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10th house, this bit, and your this is this, and your rising is this, and the moon sits here, and your conjunct this, and that, and the other. And it's like, oh, okay, I don't know what that means. Anyway, I remember this woman, she's lovely soul, very smart astrologer. And she
Yeah.
said to me, you and your brother are getting ready to do a swap, if that makes sense. You're getting ready to do a swap, which means, Charles, if you've had a good life up to this point, get ready for it to be challenging. And if he's had a challenging life, get ready for it to be rewarding. So she goes, get ready for that. And it's like, wow, okay. And then all of a sudden, yeah, it happened. It's like, wow, okay, she saw that from the stars. And then it just changes over time again. But yes, I have noticed that if one's good, the other one might not be as good. And that's where you've got a balance. Does that make sense? So it's
Yeah.
very interesting, that dynamic. Imagine if you had triplets. Imagine if there were
Oh.
3 or 4, and it would be
Mm.
higgledy-piggledy. It'd be all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a few times where I've had twins and I've had to balance out the energy because it felt like, one girl said, I think I might have shared this story before. It's like she came out all scrawny and the other girl came out plump because the other twin was stealing everything. And that was the theme for then the rest of their life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then when she came to me, I was like, oh, let me just balance that out a bit for you because it
Yeah.
seems like she's she's sucking the life out of you. So,
Yeah.
you know, mm.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
very
so,
interesting because I was the plump one, I think, when we were born. Not that
yeah.
we were big children. Well, I think I was 5 pounds one or something, but I think I was a little bit bigger than my brother. And then I grew to 5'6" and, quite plumpish some aspects of my life. And then he grew to 6'2" or 6'3", skinny as a rake. And it's like, wow. And people say, is that your twin brother? It's like, yeah. And it's like, you two are like chalk and cheese. What's going on here? Are you sure? Are you pulling our leg? What's going on here? It's like, no, that's my twin brother. And it's just, it was very different. So it was like, but again, two different eggs. And the interesting part of that was genetically, not that I've had this proven, but from what people have said growing up, I took on more of my father's traits, blue eyes, the hair, the face, all of that sort of stuff. And he took on more of my mother's traits, the brown eyes, the olive Mediterranean skin, where I didn't get that. I got the skin that just goes red and burns, all of that sort of stuff. So it was really interesting if you're looking at it from a scientific perspective, that somehow I got all of the, like the English part of the genes, and he got all of the Maltese part of the genes. And it's just like, wow, we came out, on the same day, yet so different. And I
Yeah.
had blonde, straight hair. And I've got a picture of my twin brother looking like a gollywog because he had the curly hair. And it's like, what's going on? What's happening here? And look, and that's how it is today. But people say to us, and our mannerisms are very similar. We speak similarly. And I listen to him sometimes like, I hear my voice. And it's the same thing. So as we're getting older, we're getting closer. But it's a really interesting dynamic. Sean and his brother are very similar. The look, everything, the mannerisms, a little variation here or there, but nothing too big. And people still get them confused.
Oh wow. Okay. And I
Yeah, it's
often find
interesting.
also with family dynamics that your biggest lessons are learnt from them. So, for example, if your soul is wanting to learn boundaries or, to hold your own power and to be independent, often the biggest ones that will push your boundary or push that issue that you're having is your family.
I agree, because the family's there for a lifetime. Irrespective of what happens, you're born into that family. So you're then sharing the genetics. You're then sharing the DNA, the ancestral karma, all of that stuff. It carries with you and that family bloodline for your lifetime. So that's why, yes, you're buying into something that's like, all right, I'm going to learn it. I'm going to commit to 100 years with this. Let's go. Let's make this lesson happen. But it's so true. It's so true. And I think for us, it was like patience and tolerance and listening and understanding and being heard and being loved. It was all of those different things
Yeah.
that we all had to do.
Yeah, very much so. So especially choosing to be in a big family.
The interesting part of that, Joe, was learning because it's really interesting. Picture it. I'm 4 or 5 years of age. I don't need friends at school because I
No.
come home and I've got all my brothers and sisters to play with. Do you know what I mean? And it was a really interesting concept that it was challenging for me once I'd left school, because it's like, oh, I need to find friends because they're all having their own lives now. What am I going to do? How does that work? How does that look? And
Yeah.
it took me a long time to get to that point, to feel comfortable in my social world. And I'm going to be totally honest, and I'm going to be totally transparent and totally frank, that I actually tried to escape life. And I did for 26 years. I thought, I can't be social. I've got no friends. I don't know how to do this. I'm struggling with this. So what did I do? I thought, smart. I'll go and get a job as a shift worker. I don't need friends because I'm going to start work at 4 o'clock in the morning. I've got to go to bed at 8 o'clock at night. I don't need to go out, because when I was working, everybody's saying on a Monday morning, where did you go? What did you do? Did you have a great weekend? It's like, yeah, no, I didn't do any of that stuff. And it was like, okay. So it's like, how can I alleviate this yet live and do what I needed to do? So then I did the shift work. I know I'm working at 5 p.m., not going to finish till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So I could escape life. And then something triggered in me like 20 years later after I was doing this, like, okay, now you're at a point that you had friends at the airport because you sort of give up on your family and your friends because you're a shift worker, and then your work world becomes your pseudo family, and you've got that dynamic. And it's like, okay, that's hard because you got to wait for them to be off shift and you can go and do stuff together. And then I thought, okay, now I'm old enough and I'm smart enough. I've understood what the dynamic is and how to make that. I'm going to come back to the real world now. I'm ready to find my friends. I'm ready to find that group. And that's exactly what I did. Once I got into that point, it's like, okay, I'm coming back to 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And it's like I started to invest time and energy into finding the tribe and finding the people that I wanted to connect with. And it just went bang, 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 bang. And it was like, wow, this is what everybody was having, because I didn't learn it as a child. I didn't have that experience as a child because I didn't need it. Plus,
Yeah.
think of it like this, Joe. There's 11 of us. Then I had the cousins come over every other weekend, and they were younger than me. So I had older, I had younger, I had people of all the different ages. I had my uncles and aunties and the whole extended family. I didn't need friends. And then as I got older, it's like, okay, you see your family less and less because everybody's doing their own thing, living their own lives. And it's like, okay, now I've got to learn that lesson. So that was a really interesting dynamic of choosing a larger family. That it's like when I'm in my 30s and 40s, I've got to work out, I've got to find friends. I've got to find stuff to do. I've got to push myself now as an older person out of that comfort zone. That was stuff that everybody else learned at primary school that I'm learning as a 30-year-old.
Yeah. Friendships are really hard. I reckon it's harder than you think. Like then
Silly.
you know, especially I think also when you're spiritual, when you're awakening spiritually, because you can kind of nearly wake up one day and go, I'm not really fitting with these people anymore. Like, especially if you're not wanting to drink alcohol anymore or gossip about people or, the normal things that you would do when you're not really spiritual, if that makes sense, or aware of it, of the energy dynamics.
Yeah. And that's what happens. You open that door to your spiritual aspect and you become all of these things. And you're right. You've opened the door. You've opened your spiritual door. But what you've also done is open the door where your friends will just walk out. Does that make sense? Because it's like, don't get that person anymore. They're a little bit weirder now than what they were. And they don't fit in with us. So I just say, open the door. You can walk through it. See you later. I'm good. Because what that does is it leaves that door open for others to walk in that understand me.
Yes.
And we would never have met, Joe, if you and I hadn't have taken that risk, hadn't have taken that chance on life and, thought, clean out the other stuff and bring in the new, we'd never have met, love. And how good is that? That's why I just say to people, trust, the tribe comes, allow it to come. It'll come when it's ready.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's interesting. I find with my spiritual friends, it's so easy. Like I can just pick up where we last, and we might not talk for 2 or 3 years, for example, but you just pick up where it's left off and then you go on, so I like it.
Yeah.
So,
It's easy. It doesn't have to be hard work. And the good thing about, spiritual world, and there's no judgment. There's no judgment. No. It's like, you're doing that. That's so great. I'm going to support you however I can. You get it back. And that's what I really like about it. There's no competition. There's no judgment. You just do you. And everybody supports you. And that's just great. I love that.
And I think you're generally happy for each other. And that's the difference, I think, where I think I learned from a young age about jealousy, where it's such a nothing good comes from it. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like I think, So, so I think that, where with your spiritual friends, you don't have that at all. You're very happy for each other. So,
because a spiritual person will understand that our journeys are different. What Joe is learning in this lifetime to what Charles is learning in this lifetime, very different things. We're all at different levels, and we don't actually participate in, you're better than me. No, we're on a different journey. We're on different trains, and the trains are going in opposite directions because that's where we need to be. And so that's why there's no ego, and that's why there's no jealousy. If you're in the spiritual world and there's ego present, you'll pick it out straight away, because it's like, the other ones, look at me, look at me, look at me. And it's like, no, that doesn't work in a spiritual aspect, the true spiritual aspect.
Yeah. And people can pick that a mile away when people are like that, because it's not authentic.
Correct.
So,
correct.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. I'm going to throw something at you, Joe, because I like doing this. I like putting Joe on the spot. So in the family dynamic, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever had a soulmate in a family dynamic?
Have I seen it as a healing thing?
Seen it, felt it, had it in your family environment?
Yeah. Not in my family dynamic, I don't think. Oh, no, not for me, but I have seen it in family dynamics with people, like where, you know, well, actually, no, let me take that back. I actually think that my mum and one of my brothers probably, I don't know if they were soulmates, but they've had many, many lives together, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. And
yeah.
look, it's funny to say, because I'm not saying this in a sad way, but you know, mum just got on really much better with my brother Anthony than she did with myself and Wayne. And
Hmm.
when I looked at it on a spiritual level, it wasn't because of anything really Anthony was doing. I just think that they have had more lifetimes together, if that makes sense.
Totally agree. Energetically, they just knew each other,
Yeah.
and it was a lot easier for them to connect on a
Yes.
level that they
Yes.
both got. Whereas you and your other brother had to,
Yeah.
try a little bit harder because the energetic connection wasn't as strong as it was with your other brother.
Yeah. Yeah. So it wasn't what's the word? It was more that they were, well, just more spirit, like, energetically connected. So yeah. What about you? Have you seen that? Are you any soulmates with any of your siblings?
Yeah, my grandmother.
Really?
My grandmother. We were so it was really interesting because they lived with us as we were not born. They built their house and they moved in with us. And I was always
Yep.
close with her. She taught me how to cook. My mum and grandmother taught me how to cook, but my grandmother and I was always watching her. How do you do this? How do you do that? She was ironing, she was doing washing, and I learned all of those things with her. Then when my grandfather died in 1990, something just moved and it was just like, I have to spend time with her. And we got to know each other on a really, really special level. And it was very important for me to chip away at her. And I said to her, let's go overseas together. Now, that was 1992. So I was 21, heading to Europe for the very first time with my grandmother, who in 1992 must have been 67, 68, lost her
Oh,
confidence because her husband had passed away. And here we go. So we went on this amazing adventure, Joe, and we flew all the way to Rome, got on a plane to Malta. It was 32 hours in those days to get to Malta. We had the most amazing 4 days, and then she fell over and broke her leg.
oh,
And then we flew from Malta. I just said, I've got to get out of this godforsaken country. Get me out of here. Flew from Malta to London so she could see her brother. And I just loved him. Like, he was a very special man. He was just like my grandfather. This is my house. This is your house. Whatever you want, I'm here. We got there at 10 o'clock at night. He had dinner ready for us just in case we hadn't eaten. It was just love. And then we came back. The day she died, it was actually her birthday yesterday. The day she died, it was like half of me was gone. And I'd
oh,
never experienced that. I felt this void. I felt this absolute emptiness. And it was just like, I don't know how I'm going to function. I don't know how I'm going to do this because I am incomplete. Does that make sense?
yeah. How old were you when
And
your nan died or
oh,
grandma
good
died?
question. 2005, I was 34.
Mm,
34. So it's 20 years ago that she
yeah.
died this year. And I just felt this. I came home from the hospital. I was the first. Funniest thing was, I was the first one there. We got a call at 4 o'clock in the morning. She's just passed away. And the hospital where she was at, it's like 5 minutes down the road from where I'm at. And I was the first one there. And I was so blessed for that because it's like it just gave the two of us time. And then I walked home, I think got home about 10 o'clock that morning. And it's just like, wow, I'm empty. I just feel empty. I've got nothing. Where
Mm,
is this thing? Does that make sense? And it was
yeah.
it doesn't mean I don't love the rest of my family any differently, but it was just this connection was just so strong and it was undeniable. And it was just like, oh my goodness gracious. My mother always said to me, you loved her more than you loved me. That's what she always said to me. You loved her more than you loved me. And it wasn't a dig, it wasn't a negative thing. It's just she could see how well that we both got on. And I love my mother more than I love my grandmother because my mother brought me into the world. Does that make sense? But this connection was just so strong. And it was from the very young age. And yeah, I think of her every day still. And I try, and if I could have one more day, Joe, I'd give everything. I would give absolutely everything, everything, just to have one day. And it
Oh,
was
really?
that's why I asked you if you've ever had that or if you've ever had clients that have that, because I
Yeah.
understand how it was quite debilitating, if that makes sense, that,
Yeah.
wow, how do I recover a part of me that's missing? Having said that, I did what I had to do. We did the funeral, and something inside me said the day after the funeral, you're getting back into life. You're going back to work. Just get on with it. You can't stop. And that's what
Mhm.
I did. The day
Mm,
after the funeral, straight back to work, and they've all gone, "Why are you here?" It's like, "Because I've got to get back into life. Life doesn't stop. We just got to do it."
mm, mm. Very much
It's
so.
really interesting. Really
Yeah.
interesting. So we must have
Yeah.
been very close in the same soul circle so that we have that strong connection. Very strong.
Very. Yeah. Yeah. I've had it with friends, definitely. And I've
Yeah.
seen it like in my, helping clients where they've had that really strong connection.
Yeah.
Um, Particularly, where there's been daughters and they um their mum has passed and it's felt like they've become stifled, they couldn't move on.
Yes.
Thankfully, when that has happened, the mum has been I've been able to connect through to the mum in heaven.
Yes.
Um, and I've used the words that the mum may have used with that daughter so then they knew it was the connection. Does that make sense? Um, and then I feel like it's helped them move on because I've gone, they're in a good part of heaven. They're fine. And they just want you to have fun. And, then the mum will be explaining, that ring she's got on, I gave her that ring. And then, yeah, it just feels like then it kicks them on to then, like you've done, you've got to get on with life.
Yeah.
Mm.
It kickstarts you again. You get that kickstart. It's like you have that reassurance that it is as it needs to be and they're
Yeah.
okay. And then I can get on with it again. Let's just keep going with it. Doesn't change anything, but you just got to, okay, let's get back into life. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Do you ever feel the presence of your nan around, your grandma?
She plays with my microwave oven, Joe.
Oh, really?
So I have a microwave oven that she purchased for me when I moved into the house. So she was still alive. Bless her. That was her gift to me, a microwave oven. And when I know she's in the house, the clock disappears. It just vanishes altogether. You can't see. You got to go right up to it like this. It's like, is there a time there? And I say, okay, I know you're here. And that's nice. What do you need? What do you need me to do something? What is it? And then like a day or so later, the clock's back.
Oh,
And it's just it's go figure that out. Sometimes when I was hanging out the washing, and I don't use White King, but my grandmother loved White King. She must have had shares in the company. Everything got White King. Okay, it was all White King. And I go out to the clothesline, and I'm hanging up the clothes, and all of a sudden, I can smell the White King. It's like, I don't use it, so you're here with me. Am I doing a good job with the washing? Would you like to critique me on anything that I've done with the washing or anything like that? And I like to have fun. I really like to have fun with the spirits when they come through like that. But
yeah.
yeah, not often. Yesterday, she sent a message on her birthday, so I got a little message and I started crying in the car. That was fine. And
Oh,
yeah, but other than that, no. It is. I know she's there, so I talk to her all the time, so I don't
yeah.
have an issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
bless. Yeah.
Yeah. 20
Yeah.
years later, she can still make me cry, Joe. 20 years later, she still makes me cry.
Yeah. I think it's funny how, you know, so I had a friend that died, Karen, that died when I was 23. And there's a particular song that when I hear it, it reminds me of Karen and, that it's been like that forever. And then when
Mhm.
I had to put my dog Rocco down, and then when I got in the car, that song was playing. And I thought, oh, that's a sign she's here, going, it's all good, you know.
It's
So,
exactly right.
yeah. And I got
It's
to,
exactly what it is.
yeah, analyze it. How good if that song played it right at that time when I got in the car, you know?
Yeah. And that's strong. That's good. But that's the family dynamics are different for everybody. Some people
Yes.
will get along famously with their family. Some people will really struggle with their families. I mean, I know I've got clients that don't talk to family. They can't connect to family.
Mm,
And that's a real that's a that I find that frustrating because they want to connect with their families, but their families just frustrate them. So there's that aspect as well. So I just sort of say to them, okay, well, preserve your energy and just step back a little bit or set boundaries with your family so that they're not crossing those boundaries. That way you feel safe and you feel heard and you're not, being hurt by these people. So Or sometimes I'll just say, disconnect yourself altogether. Disconnect
Yeah.
yourself altogether. Because I can see the person that my client is from a different soul group trying to uplift all of these people together. And she's the
Yes.
only one that's come in. They're all in the same soul circle. So they could be very dense together and they just feed off each other. She's come in to try and uplift them, but it's too much for one person. That's the other aspect. It can become too much for one person to lift all of these people together. So I just sort of say to them, your task was intentionally good, but operationally not good. It wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you just have to, not admit defeat, but it's just to preserve your own emotional self and so you can have somewhat of a good life. Yeah, sometimes you have to back away,
Yes,
and
yes.
uh,
Preserving yourself, preserving your own energy is very important.
very important. And I think that there's, I think people go through a stage of, well, why did that happen, and why can't I have parents? And then, you always have that one friend in that friend group that has the perfect parents. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And you're like, oh God, why couldn't my
Yes,
parents be like that? But at the
yes.
same time, I think, those ones they need to. I was very fortunate that I had a few older ladies that I connected very well with, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so they, they weren't all aspects like my mum or mothered me like that, but they were kind and caring and gave me that love that possibly that I couldn't find with my mum. So,
Yes.
and again, she wasn't
Yeah.
trying to be like that. It was just I couldn't, she was doing the best she could, So
And that's really key with family dynamics too. You can't just blame people. You've got to go back and look at, okay, what was her dynamic like when she was the child? What did
correct.
she receive? What nurturing did she receive? Does that make sense? And then when you put
Yeah.
that perspective into your client's mind, they can say, oh, yeah, there was a lot of trauma there. And then you can sort of
Yeah.
say, well, okay, if there's trauma there, they might not have cleared their trauma. So they are, in a way, they can't give you the love that you need. They can't give you what, because they've never had it. They don't understand how to do that.
No.
And that's for you to break. And that's why sometimes we choose difficult families, because we're trying to break cycles.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
trying to,
And
open up our heart space and heal it so that the next generation, it gets that love and that's cleared. It's done.
yeah. And I think also, for me, I look at it how I parent, and I feel like I've so far done a great job, but I think it was because also I've learned from my dynamics with my mum, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So
Yes.
therefore,
Yes.
the dynamics with my children are much different.
Of course, you had that experience and you thought for yourself when you were having children, okay, it might have been the most positive experience that your mother could have given you, but I want better for my children, or I want
Yeah.
different for my children. And that's what you actively then go and pursue. I'm going to try and do whatever I can so that they have the best possible experience.
Yeah, very much so. So yeah, so I think it's interesting, and I also find, like when siblings, particularly when they're the same sex, when they get jealous of each other, I find that really interesting. So, or
Yes.
there's competition between the two of them. I think, good gracious, what's this? So,
My twin brother and I were very much like that. And the hard part was I got used to get so frustrated because we didn't look the same. He's always been taller than me. I was always the shorter one. The teachers used to confuse us. And it's like,
right,
how does that happen? We're different people, same surname, different first names, everything was different. And they used to confuse us. And so I'd get this great report card, even though I might have failed the subject. And then he got the crap report card, even though he did well in the subject, because the teachers had no idea who was who. And he used to get so frustrated. And I just go, okay, I've got a good report card. Yeah, I must have passed that subject really well. And no. So we used to have little punch-ons at home because it was like, yeah, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. And that's the hard part too, when there's a twin dynamic in the family space. It's you're always sharing something. You're never having
yeah,
that experience to yourself. So that's another aspect that, if you don't have a twin or triplets or whatever, you get it to yourself, and that's fine. But sometimes when you're a twin, you just want to be you. You just don't want to have to share it with everybody. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that was always, I mean, it doesn't worry me. It really didn't. But it was always a case of, where's my individuality? Because I've always got to share it with somebody. I've always got to have that. There's two cakes, or there's, and as a youngster, it plays on your mind. It's really
Yeah.
interesting. So yeah, we had punch-ons. We used to fight to death, and it's like, I'm gonna punch you.
I
We'd
can't
run around
imagine.
the house, and it was full on, Joe. And I love my brother dearly. I love my twin brother to death. And it's a case of, we're very different people now, but it took us, we actually had to grow apart to grow back together, if that makes sense. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
So the
I
dynamics can be different for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah. I can't imagine you punching anyone.
Oh, I'm a Taurus. When we get angry, it's like a volcano, and so is he. A volcano erupts. And when
Yeah.
it erupts, it's like you can't stop. And it's like, right, let me at it, let me go. And yeah, I was always the shorter one. So it didn't end very well for me, Joe. So I had to learn very valuable lessons like short, but I can be quick. Run, let's go. So it was very interesting. Very
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, Eli, our son, is a Taurus, so a little bull. And
Yeah.
but then the rest of us are all Librans. So it's a bit
Wow.
funny. We're here to calm Eli down when he has a moment. He doesn't ever lose his cool, like he's pretty cool and calm, collective. But yeah, it's funny when he gets cranky though. So
Oh,
yeah.
yes. Taurians are very grounded people, but if
Mm,
the buttons get pushed to the extreme, like for me, I know
yeah.
that I can take it for a long, you can poke, you can poke, you can poke, I don't really care. Then all of a sudden you've poked one too many times, and then I can just feel this bubbling up in the stomach. It's like, quickly run for your life because it's going to come out and you're going to, regret it. So yeah, that's how I roll. I've only erupted a few times in my life, but yeah, they were big.
Yeah. Yeah. I probably, yeah, I don't do that. I'm pretty probably say it as I go, but in
That's
a
fair enough.
kind way. But so
Yeah.
then I don't ever explode. I just sort of say it as I go. But
Yeah.
yeah. And then the other dynamics that I find also within families that I find really what's the word? It's really rather hideous, really. But like when the jealousy happens, when you know I had a lady and she goes, I don't talk to my sister anymore. And I was like, the guides were saying it's because she's jealous. That's why. Anyway, and I
Hmm.
was like, oh, what happened? Oh, she's very flashy with her money. And I was like, oh, so
Right.
you have no money? She goes, no. And I said, do you think it makes you overwhelmed that she's spending her money on nice things and you don't have any? Yes, she said. And I said, well, that's not her fault. I said, why didn't you go to uni? She goes, I didn't want to. And I was like, well,
Yes.
I said, so you would have been rich when she was at uni and now the tides are turned. And she goes, yep. And I don't like it. And I said, well, do you see that's not particularly her fault? And then yeah, she goes, I need to think about this a lot because I think you're saying to me that I got to get over it. And I
Yes.
went, well, let's just have a think about but you don't want to, you don't want to go back to heaven and the divine creator or whoever it is at the checking point go, you let that relationship go with your sister because you were really jealous that she had money and you didn't. And she's
Yeah.
like,
And your choices didn't lead you to that pathway where there was money. Your choices led you down a pathway that you had to struggle.
mm,
You could have had that choice. You made
yeah,
the choice.
yeah. So anyway, I think sometimes I love doing not saying people pointing out those things, but I like to give people that like the big picture thought, because often we don't think about that. And then, I often say when you're an old girl or an old guy, do you want to reflect back and think about what you've just done here and regret it or think you could have done it differently?
Yeah, we're very similar because I say to people, picture it. You're on your deathbed. You're on the last day of your life. Did you tick all the boxes? And this gripe that you've got with that person, can you see it from a very different perspective now? Can you see that, she didn't do anything to you? It was just your life choices led you down a pathway that you didn't really want to deviate from. And her life choices led her to a place where she had the abundance that she was seeking. So, and they go, yes. And I think you're on the money. It's just, how do they see it? How do they perceive it? Perception is everything. It's our job to reframe their perceptions.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And I make those decisions. I often think, will I regret this if I don't have a go at it when I'm an old girl?
Correct.
Because
Correct.
yeah. And so I just think, well, I don't want to go for broke as in I lose all my money, but I go for broke because, got nothing to lose most of the time. So yeah,
What's the worst that can happen? Like this, Joe.
correct.
We took a risk. We're having a lot of fun. And if we reach people, and we
Yeah.
are reaching people, because people are reaching out to me all the time, like there will be you,
Yes.
we're loving what you're
Yes.
doing. We're putting it out there. And they like the
Yes.
conversation because they feel like they're a part of the conversation. They feel like,
Yes.
yes, that makes sense to me. So
Yes.
take a chance every day in life. And, we participate every day in life. That's the key. Life is about participation. What you put into it, you'll get out of it.
Absolutely. And my biggest thing is as you think, so it shall be. So, if you think you can do it, or if you feel like, if your vibration matches what you're wanting to achieve, it'll happen without you even trying very hard. So yeah. So yeah. So my biggest takeaway is with the family dynamics is pull away if you feel like it's too, if you're getting taken advantage of or energetically you can't give any more. But at the same time, reflect on, especially with your parents, that, most of our parents came from, their grandparents or their parents were in World War II. And so that the DNA or their lineage is of that fight or flight, or they're on food rations, and they had very
Very,
limiting thought behavior.
very different world to where
Yeah,
we've grown up.
yeah. And so
And you can't
they,
love when there's war. You said it, fight or flight. You're not going
yeah,
to be showing them love. You're gonna do whatever you can to survive. That's the
yeah,
key element, is survival.
yeah. So, and they say with our DNA, it generally takes 2 or 3 generations for that to, whatever that tragedy was, or the World War event, it takes a few generations for that to be, that fight or flight and that fear to be taken out, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So, so most of our parents didn't grow up, their parents weren't very present with them,
Mhm.
everyone tells me, oh, they just said, go outside and play, so there was no big family conversations. So
And
I think,
that's exactly what it was. And for a lot of Europeans that were lucky enough to migrate from Europe after the wars to Australia, both of the parents were working. So
mm,
they couldn't nurture, because it was like, I've got to put food on the table, want to buy the house, want to have that security. We want to have a better life.
mm,
And that's why, when you put that into perspective for people's eyes, they go, well, they tried really hard because I got to have everything that I wanted. I didn't go without.
yeah,
And they gave it to me in ways that might not have been the most loving ways, but they gave you the security of the house. They gave you the clothes to wear to school. They gave you the food on the table. They did the best they could.
yeah, absolutely. So in summary, I think that, we're a product, or our parents were a product of their time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
and I agree. And we have to look at, why did we choose our families? What did we need to learn? What did we need to heal for our families as well? What can we do to help our families become closer and to be more understanding of each other and to be more tolerant of each other?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So and the biggest thing is also with siblings is that you can't change them. You just have to love them as they are.
That's exactly right. Just accept them for who they are. They're doing the best they can with the cards they've been dealt. And when everybody looks at life like that, they're doing the best they can with the cards they've been dealt. That's
Yes,
all you have to accept. Nothing more.
absolutely. Yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
more. I
Fantastic.
love
Well,
it.
this has been a lovely chat again.
It has, Joe. It has. So thank you very much for this. It was your concept. I love the idea of family dynamics. And, it's very powerful that a lot of people carry stuff from their family, but we need to help them reframe their perceptions so they can let it go and you just get on with life.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well,
And if
well,
anyone's got any topics that they would like us to talk about, please feel free to add in the comments.
Yes. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to share this with your friend, there's a little button in the YouTube page that says share, and you can copy the link and you can just message it to your friends or whatever so that we can get this out there and then people can see us. And we're contemplating doing some lives soon, aren't we, Joe? So we'll have a bit of a
Yes.
Q&A going on.
I
So
love
we're
it.
going to do some lives. So it's all happening where we're going to get there, and it's just one foot in front of the other.
Yes. And this week you popped up that you're looking at doing a Egypt tour.
I did, Joe. So Egypt in 2026.
Yep.
Contemplating an October departure. I've been to Egypt in 2019 and we did an October departure. It's still beautiful weather. In the Valley of the Kings, it's still quite hot, and in 42 degrees, 38 degrees. It's
Winning.
Egypt is the most amazing country. It is a very safe country, contrary to what you might see on the news. When we went in 2019, I felt nothing but safe. And the people of the Egyptian origin were so grateful for the Australian tourists that were still going because it's helping keep their country and their livelihoods going. I spoke to the tour director on Tuesday night, and he said, "Oh my goodness gracious me! If you thought it was safe in 2019, the country's even more stable now, and it's even safer now." I said, "Great, that's what I need to hear." So I'm still in the pre-planning stages. We're still bedding down an itinerary, still bedding down the hotels, still bedding down quite a few different experiences. We're going to be renting the Great Pyramid again. We might be renting the Sphinx as well so that we can meditate in those places. There's going to be an optional tour to a place called the Siwa Oasis, which is very close to the Libyan border up near Alexandria. We're going to go to Alexandria. So there's going to be lots of different things in this tour that's not going to be your average Egyptian experience.
Oh, I
It's all
love
happening.
it. Yes.
It's all
Put
happening.
my name down already.
Love your work, Joe. Love it. You're going to love it. Egypt is the most amazing experience. And
Yes.
it is just, you go into one tomb, you go into the next tomb, and it just fills your heart. It's like, I've been here. I know this. I don't know why. And at the Temple of Isis, you're standing in front of this beautiful big wall of all of these hieroglyphics, and it's all of her potions and all of her, it's like for a naturopathist, it's all of the formulas on this wall. That was like, wow, it was
Love
spectacular. So a lot of wisdom there. So I'll share some more details as the pre-planning gets further developed, and we can start to get some costings, and then off we go.
it. And you've also got a few more spots for your tarot course, yeah?
I do. This class is definitely running. So we are committing to its running definitely. I've got enough participants so that it runs. I think I've got 4 more spots for the tarot, June 21, and then I'm running Palawa in July, which is a weekend. So that is a level 1 on the Saturday, level 2 on the Sunday. You did that with us, Joe, last year. So we're doing the Palawa again, and next week I'll be launching the You Are Clairvoyant as well for 7 weeks, 2 hours a week.
Oh, perfect. I have to say with the
What do you think of
Palawa, yeah, it moved.
Sorry, Joe, go on.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just going to say, for me, it felt like it removed some blocks where I felt like I wasn't good enough or not worthy. And it cleared all of those. And I have to say, since I did that, to me, it feels like I feel like is the word limitless?
Yes.
Limitless.
Yeah.
So, that's it. I don't have any courses. Mine are all booked out for what I've already got started. My book is at typeset, and that means that it's all the fonts and everything are getting for the book. So hopefully Natasha might have a bit of a timeline on when I will be pre-launch. So then that's when I'll be, saying, please all book it. Please pre-order it. But apart from that, I've just started this last week. I started my clairvoyant course.
Go you.
So that was, So I think I've got 8 ladies. Yep, 8. And we'll see each other 9 times, and it's generally every 4 weeks I see them. So
Go you. Well done, my love.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. And then I'm just with the alchemy, I've got the finishing report, and then I should be able to get my DA so I can put float tanks and ice baths and everything out the back. So so it should be good.
See?
So
Onwards and upwards, 2025. It's all happening
yeah,
this year. It's
limitless.
all let's go.
Yes, yeah. So yeah,
I
so
love it.
will you put a link for your courses that you've got, your Palloy and your in the
Oh,
link, or will they just go to the Amanti Moon to have a look at them?
they can go Amanti Moon on Instagram because it's all on our Amanti Moon Instagram page. It's Amanti_Moon. It's all there for people that are interested. It's an in-person class. Both of them are in person. So you need to be in Melbourne, and I'm located near the Tullamarine or Melbourne Airport. So that's what we're running. So yeah, happy for anybody to participate and join if they want to.
Perfect. Excellent. Great.
Thank you for a lovely session, Joe. I look forward to our next one. Stay safe, my love. And I look
You too.
forward to our next interaction.
Yes. Excellent.
All right, my
See
love.
you next.
Stay safe. We'll chat soon.
You too. Much love. Bye.
All right. Bye.